to see you.
Hey, gratitude is a skill, guys. But if you practice, it will give you a joyful life regardless of your circumstances.
My goal on TV was to bring a smile to everybody's face.
Last season didn't meet the expectations that we wanted to have, and it sharpened our focus for the year ahead. There's no question about that. Today I want to focus on the opportunities that our staff, Coach Stoops and his staff and the team have worked their way over the offseason to get back to where we want to be. And we've been there before, and we'll respond, and I'm confident this team and our coaching staff is ready to go. They've embraced the changes. We've reset, building some momentum for the upcoming season. We had a top 10 transfer portal class and top 25 recruiting class. Look forward to the start of the season and cheering our team on.
I do think mistakes were made with Brock, and probably early on running him too much. And I certainly own that from the standpoint of, in this league, that player is going to get hit enough and he's going to take his shots, and we got to be extremely smart in not adding to that.
No Filter Radio with Alan Cutler, brought to you by Quantrell Auto Group. QuantrellForLife.com.
Good afternoon. I'm Alan Cutler. Honored and pleased to be with you. Honored and pleased that you're spending time today or tomorrow morning or tonight with me on 1300 AM and 92.5 FM. I bet Jimmy remembers this. After the first game last year, I went crazy. And I did it a number of times. I was so mad that they ran Brock Vandergriff. I said this was stupid. I was screaming. Pretty simple. If you can't beat Southern Miss, and they won 31-0, something like that, and he threw for 3 touchdowns. I think he threw 18 passes, 12 of 18 or something like that. Anyway, it was 31-0. You can't beat Southern Miss without having running plays for your quarterback. You suck. You really suck. You can't take the pounding. And he kind of dinged his shoulder. And he was never the same after that. And look, I don't know this. If they had a great offensive line, and I have speculated this, I don't know this. If they had the offensive line in the heyday of the late, great John Schlarman, is it possible he'd still be playing football? Yeah, it is. Do I know that for sure? I do not. But it was really, really dumb. Now, I like Bush Hampton. I think he's terrific. I think it's great he's in Lexington, Kentucky. I have friends who thought the world of him who are from Idaho who weren't happy when he left Boise State to come to Kentucky. Everybody makes mistakes. I make mistakes. We all make mistakes. But, when people say, oh, my gosh, you didn't play the game, what the hell do you know? Makes me want to say shut up to people. Seriously. It's bad play calling. Now, is it possible that Hamden didn't realize what this league was? No, not true. I don't buy that at all. He has experience in the league. Missouri. So I don't buy it. It was a bad decision. Now, defending him, Brock Vandergriff is a big, strong kid. I get that. And a tough kid, too. He got the crap beat out of him. Really bad. So much so, he lost his love of football. Now, is there something else there? Could be. I don't know. I'm not going to speculate. I'm going to tell you this. It was an horrendous move. So, Jimmy, let's play this soundbite again. I think it's really important. One, that Bush admitted it. Two, I don't know how many times he went crazy on running Brock last year. It was incredible. I know it was one of the worst things of the season. Now, you say, wait a second, Cutler, they were awful last year. Things happen with momentum. And when you lose your guy like that, guess what happens? There's a trickle-down effect that is awful. Jimmy, please play that bite again and crank it up from Bush Hampton.
I do think mistakes were made with Brock, and probably early on running him too much. And I certainly own that from the standpoint of, in this league, that player is going to get hit enough and he's going to take his shots, and we got to be extremely smart in not adding to that.
Look, he admitted it. 2, he's a smart coach. 3, he made a mistake. Am I ripping him now? I'm not. Am I doing it for justification what I said last year? Yeah, a little bit. I'll admit it. I got no problem admitting it. But I went crazy about that. I'm sure a guy named Matt didn't go crazy over that. I did it on that Monday. I was so ticked off. They win big, and I'm mad. I'm really mad. It doesn't make any sense. Common sense is king. Good for Bush. I root for him. Hope he does a great job. Hope they have a great year. Second year here, remember, it was not only coaching the players into a new system, as I've mentioned many times. He had to coach the coaches into a new system. It's not like he brought in all his new guys. It's got to be a lot nothing is easy, but it's got to be a lot easier this year. And I'm rooting like hell for him. You know what I like, Jimmy? That he admitted his mistake, finally, after all this time. And he didn't have to. Certainly didn't have to. And when this gets back to him, I can see somebody who well, you should never admit anything because Cutler went crazy on you. No, if you listen to what I said, I really like him. He made a mistake. I make mistakes. Not you, Jimmy. Others make mistakes. You think that's fair, Jimmy?
Yeah, and I think it's good on him to do it. I think more coaches should, and maybe we do, we just don't hear about it because it's like nationally, I don't think that soundbite will make headlines anywhere. So, but us here in Lexington, we see it. So I think it's good, and it shows you confidence in a coach that he can accept it and say, yeah, I messed up on that one.
Oh, I think that's a good point, Jimmy, because I think he is comfortable in his own skin. I really do. And plus, now think about this for a second. Do you think the lineup of quarterbacks that either are here, are committed over the next couple of years would be here without Bush Hamden? No. This has nothing to do with Vince being here or not being here. Trust me when I tell you this, okay? No matter how much Cutler Bowley might have liked Vince Morrow, and I understand he did, very secondary to wanting to be around your coordinator and the feeling you get from the head coach. It's pretty simple. So I applaud Bush for saying that. I'm also saying, okay, I'm patting myself on the back. I saw it immediately. Jimmy, you think Bush should then call me for advice on Monday morning and say, hey, Alan Cutler, is there anything I did wrong? Therefore, I need to change. What do you think about that? I think the odds of that happening is you or I winning the Derby next year. What do you think?
Yeah, probably not. And I would imagine the coaches, they probably discussed it at the time also. But again, they're not going to come out and say mid-season.
Huh. You know, that's a really good point, Jimmy, except I don't know. And of course we don't know. It's possible that they weren't concerned at that point. Can't answer it. It's a good theory, Jimmy, but you can't answer it. Wouldn't surprise me either way. Okay, so I went to the open practice on Friday, and I left early. It's kind of weird for me with my eye. That's the first time I've been out in the sun in the afternoon since literally Memorial Day weekend. And it just started bothering me. And I had sunglasses on. I had a hat on. I wasn't looking up and that kind of stuff. And I don't know, it was the sweat, the heat, whatever. So I left. A couple things that I observed, and I talked to some people. It's a pretty simple deal. One, Calzada is as big as I thought he is. He's a big man. Two, Cutler Bowley, as you would expect and what you heard, he's a lot thicker. And he's about a year away from being thick, which is good. Three, the 75%, which led me to believe that unless Cutler Bowley knocks out Calzada, he's a starting quarterback. There is no quarterback controversy at this point. But. Before I finished the ball came, and now they were just soft touch passes, excuse me. But the ball just jumps out of Calzada's hand. And Jimmy, what a tight spiral. And Cutler threw a nice ball too. But I was really looking for Calzada because I already knew how Bowley throws. And I'm assuming it's a little better. We didn't see him throw really long balls, at least when I was here, that kind of thing, because he's stronger. Okay. It's just nice seeing the ball come out of his hands. Look, that's an NFL quarterback throwing-wise. He has an NFL arm. Do I think Cutler's arm, by the time he leaves here, is an NFL arm? Probably. Are there a bunch of quarterbacks in college who have NFL arms? Absolutely. Now, here's what's interesting. You know what? I don't know how many practices are going to have before the opening game, and obviously you're not going to make a decision. You could, but rarely you make a decision on a Saturday morning or make decisions, and you tell the guys on Saturday morning if it comes down to it, that kind of thing. I'm going to guess it doesn't come down to that point, that Stoops, unless something strange happens, will make it official before the first game. That's a guess, if it's really going to be Calzada, because he said basically, right, the other day that if the season started tomorrow, it'd be Calzada. I get that. So let's say, and I don't know the number, Jimmy, let's say there's 20 practices, okay? Do I expect Cutler Bowley to win some of those practices over Zach Calzada? Yeah, it wouldn't be unusual. Wouldn't be unusual. So therefore, my question is, and I don't have any idea. There's no question that you talk to people that Cutter Bowley won the weekend doing a better job, but it's just a couple of open practices. And you can't make too much out of it because of all the different practices they still have. You think it's going to start some speculation, Jimmy?
I don't think so. I think that Bush coming out and saying 75% of the snaps are going to one guy, like you said, that would take something pretty drastic for that to end up being a true competition this close to the season. I mean, we're less than a month away.
Yeah. He'd have to knock him out.
Yeah.
And it's possible, and I don't know if he can, I don't know if he will. What I do like, and from watching everything that was out there on the two quarterbacks, Jimmy, they're both really mature kids. They're both really mature kids, and I think that's pretty good. So let's do this because Cutter is local. Let's set up the show. Mr. Baseball in Lexington, Alan Stein. We'll talk Reds. We'll talk trades. We'll talk the future of the Reds. We'll talk about the legends. That'll be at 12:30. And Jared Peck is joining us. Does an outstanding job covering high school, and there's all kinds of things going on before the start of the high school season. One of the things that fascinates me, Jimmy, let me throw this out there. I don't understand why there's not a shot clock in high school basketball in Kentucky. It just makes no freaking sense to me at all. None. Jimmy, off the top of your head, give me one reason, just one, why they don't put in a shot clock.
I've never really thought about it, but just real quick, they don't want the games to take too long. Kids don't want to, be driving home in the dark. Is that what it is? Nationwide?
You know what?
I don't know.
I can't give you an answer on the difference in the length of games. I would always assume it wouldn't be that much. That's a good question. I would be shocked if that's part of it. Jared Peck might have the answer on that. I think a lot of people don't want to change. You know the thing I'm going to throw at him, and you know this, Jimmy, because I pushed it like crazy, the Elam rule. Why are they not having the Elam rule in high school basketball? I mean, it creates such excitement. So there's all kinds of things going on. Jared Peck will join us at 1:30 today. So we have two clips to play from Cutter Bowley from Media Day. And the first one is kind of an interesting answer. And I want to play it first. And Jimmy, I want you to look into this too. It was kind of like, I got to come up with something here. Okay, so here's the obvious. Cutter is young. Zach is old when it comes to college football. And Cutter is around older guys like Zach. So, what do you learn being around an older guy?
Whatever it may be, like scheduling appointments, finances, like literally everything. That was a big finance guy. So yeah. Yeah. But no, having guys like that's awesome for everything.
Now, first of all, there's nothing negative to say, but Jimmy, I found it fascinating and it's smart. And I think there's more of this than has been advertised. You get a guy who's 22, 23, 24, 20. Isn't Calzada 25? I always forget. I think he's 25.
He'll be 25 in November.
25 in November. Okay, close enough. That there are guys like this who have become financially savvy, which I think is really smart. You're getting a whole bunch of money, know what the hell to do with it. Whether your advisor is helping you, whether the college is helping you, there's a lot of money out there. Duh. And you would hope that some of these kids learn how to put it away. You would hope. Buy a few things, but don't go crazy buying stuff. Because it's possible with a lot of these kids, they're never going to make as much money in their lives as they are in college for some of these kids. And if you go to the NFL and make more, that's great. You're starting on your retirement early. And I really hope that these kids don't squash money. And it's simple to say, well, they're an 18-year-old. They don't know what to do with money and stuff like that. I get that. But you know what? When a 40-year-old says that, we've all seen the stats about somebody who wins the lottery who's like 40 years old or something like that, and I forgot what the numbers are, but it's overwhelming how many people are broke in 5 years. So this is not just kids. And you know what? If you don't know anything about money, you can learn. You can point in the right direction. You got taxes. You got all kinds of things. Jimmy, if you make these kids employees, which I think is going to eventually happen, I think one of the reasons why it hasn't is because that means the scholarship is taxed, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you're getting, I don't even know what UK costs now. I have no idea. All I know is it went up every single year when my kids were going there every single year. And the year where there was an overlap, oh my gosh. I don't know how I did it, but that's neither here nor there. Point being is this. So you have a kid who gets a scholarship, and now it's not free anymore, is it?
It is not. It looks like undergrad in-state is about $28,000.
Is it that high?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say you're the fourth string tailback, right? And you spent 4 years here. You're not going to make much on the NIL, right? Probably not.
Nah.
And you're getting over $100,000 of education. I don't know if that includes books or not, or incidentals and whatever. Let's round it off safely at $120,000. Spending cash, all those kinds of things. Again, somebody could do more. The point being is this. You could go to school as an employee, not make much money in the NIL, and you could be what? Broke. Or, depending upon how they divide the money, that money can go to your scholarship, and you're still going to have to pay taxes. Boy, this thing is a colossal mess. It's a colossal mess. Okay. Clip number 2. I like this. To the obvious, anybody goes from a freshman to sophomore, got to play a smidgen last year. How has he grown up? This is Cutler Boley since last year.
I think I had a lot of areas to grow both physically and mentally. And I feel like throughout the spring and throughout the summer, I made a lot of strides in both those areas. I was able to put on like 15, 20 pounds coming in from last year, and just mentally feeling that much more comfortable when I step on the field.
Do you think actually getting into the games help with that a lot too?
Sure, yeah. I feel like that just gives me the confidence and the comfortability going into this year, having that experience and playing in those big games from last year.
I think that's good. And by the way, Jimmy, he looks like he's put on 20 pounds. And it's not like how I put on 20 pounds. His 20 pounds is much better than my 20 pounds. He's a big kid. And he was, kind of thin in high school. And he's not thin anymore, but he's not super, super, super thick. And I don't know how much thicker he's going to be, but he looks like he's thick enough. And he'll probably get, could I see him end up being 230 before he leaves here? 230, 235? Maybe. We'll see. But he looks strong enough to handle it. And he's a great kid. And Calzada looks like a great kid. Seriously. So I think that's terrific. Let's go to Calzada. And just a general comment for clip number 1.
I think just really my relationships with the guys. I think that, it's hard to lead a group of guys when you don't know them. And that's been one of my biggest things since I got here is getting to know a lot of guys individually, building those relationships, building those connections, and building that trust. So when come game time, we're a lot more of a cohesive unit.
Okay. You got to get to know guys before you leave. That's a smart way to doing it. He didn't come out and say, I'm the leader. I think when you come in as a quarterback, that's a really smart thing to do. Let it happen naturally. Jimmy, you played football. You've been in locker rooms. It seems to me, and I've always felt that if you come in, and especially now where you come in, you transfer, you can play right away, not like sitting on you. You come in and you say, hey, I'm the leader. You got to do exactly what I want. Whether you say it in those words, but guys are smart. You can feel those words if you don't say those words. If you do that, I think some guys will resent you, and then you really better show what you're doing. You really, 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 really better show, and I think this is a smart way to do it.
Yeah, you can't come in talking all that talk, even if you're, let's say you're at the professional level and you're a guy that's a veteran in the league, and you still want to come in and prove it. Let your work ethic do the talking to start. Be the first one in if you're Zach Calzada. Show what you can do when you're spinning it, just running routes on air with the guys. And then eventually it will get to where you can become the leader. But he knows that, and all the other guys know it. You're not just going to come in and stamp it and say, hey, I'm the guy now. That just doesn't fly.
Although some people have probably done it.
No, I'm sure.
Yeah, and I'm sure sometimes it's worked. I think this is a smarter way to do it. Because if you're really showing up early and you're really eating lunch, with different groups of guys instead of just eating with the same group and stuff like that, it's not that difficult to get to know everybody. And not only that, this is speed dating. I think Cal's was the first time I heard it years and years and years ago. Everybody knows that you have to get to know everybody quicker. So people are less apt to stay in their little cubbyhole. In other words, just with the offensive line, you stay with the offensive line. It is really good if you sit down as an offensive lineman and go have lunch with the defensive lineman, especially if you've been hit against each other. Go sit down and have lunch with the DBs. Seriously, I think it's a really smart thing to do, and it's really pushed more now than ever before, which is smart. Now, I expect him, you expect him, we all expect him to say something nice, clip number 2, on the offensive line.
Oh, I love that group. I've spent a lot of time with all those guys, and, we've built really strong relationships. So I'm excited to see, how they perform this year. I think, even from the start of camp and going back to summer and spring, that's probably one of the hardest working groups on our team. Some of the last to leave, their coach is harder on them than anybody else we got. So just seeing them take pride in what they're doing and how they go about their days is awesome.
I think that was a little comment that Eric Wolford is one tough dude. We already knew that anyway, the offensive line coach. And so, I don't know, things change. Jimmy, when you played, now I know there were face masks when you played. You're not that old. I don't know if that word was used much in the locker rooms the way it is now. As I recall, it was not, but the new word is urgency, urgency, urgency. We have had a sense of urgency. Clip number 3, urgency.
We've had a short amount of time. I mean, 30 guys new, I believe, or something like that. And it's just, the team didn't have the success they wanted last year, and we're taking pride in the fact that, since January, the time is now. Every day, we have to come in and get better. And, the season sneaks up on us. So just coming in every day, and the time is now, and taking advantage of every moment that we have in the facility.
And for you, do you feel like more of that because this is your last year?
Yeah, and I think I embraced that last year. And it's kind of carried me into this year, and just, it's a little different when you treat it like your last year, and that's a mentality that we try to, I'm glad that we have a lot of guys that feel that way. It's their last year as well, and just trying to spread that mentality to the team, and the time is now, and we don't want to leave this season with any regrets.
That's a really mature comment that he had that last year, incarnate word. He had it then. That's a very mature comment, but this kid's going to be 25 in November, and that's the right way to do it. Really, every time I've heard this kid talk, which hasn't been very many, but every time I've heard Calzada talk, he comes across to me like a very smart, mature kid who's grown up a ton, which is what you would expect with college. Plus, it's interesting. Bully's a big kid. Zach is a big man.
Yeah.
He's a big man. A little bit more, clip number 4, on the sense of urgency that's pushing Calzada and the team.
Just like the sense of urgency, man, when it's your last go at it, your last opportunity, it just feels different. You just wake up in the morning ready to go. Sometimes, you wake up tired and it's like, mind over body. It's time to go. We don't have time to waste.
Don't have time to waste. And now, last clip from Calzada, the change. The incarnate word to Kentucky with the offense.
It was a bit of an adjustment. I spent the last 2 years in, a spread offense, throwing the ball 50 times a game. But, back in the SEC, like Coach says, all explosive start up front. And I think, just being consistent, staying ahead of the sticks, being able to run the ball efficiently and make good decisions as a quarterback.
Making good decisions as a quarterback. Yeah. Yeah, there's no doubt in my mind that he's totally changed. Totally changed. Let's go to Stoops. And Jimmy, we have multiple Stoops, so this will probably help you. There are 6 clips in this one. And first one is talking about making strides. You already have it, of course, because you're Jimmy. And talking about where the team is at.
So I thought we made some strides today offensively, just a little better sense of urgency, a little better, attention to detail, just functioned a little better. So it's still early, but good first week.
It does look like you guys are more in rhythm or further along than fan building in this part.
I think with the opportunities that we've done in the summer, we've taken good advantage of that. The guys have worked really hard. Coaches have put in a lot of time, so we're further along.
This was Mark Stoops Saturday after Fan Day. Now, this can work to your advantage. Let me give you the disadvantage first. You've been through a school for a couple of years. You know that system really well. Now you have to learn something totally new. And at times that can be difficult. Not that you're not smart, not that you're stupid, but you have a system and you have this habit of just moving a certain way. Different coaches have different things, different techniques. It can be difficult. From a positive point of view, very often when you have somebody coming in and it's their last year, they get that sense of urgency. Plus, they've played enough football. The good ones know how they have to practice. The good ones know they have to be. And a lot of that has to do in recruiting and getting a feel for bringing in the kind of people that say, okay, I'm going to be really serious. I'm making some money. I want to make some money somewhere else, or I know this is my last year and I want to make it a really good last year, and I want to push as a professional. And I think the positive in most of these cases is going to win if you're a good guy and you understand what you're going to do. I think there'll be more on the positive side, not just to Kentucky, but in most places, actually. Really in most places, because you're not talking about a 17 or 18-year-old kid, not knocking them, but it's just life experiences. So a lot of transfers at Kentucky, like a lot of places, clip number 2, have played a lot of football, and it helps.
That's a big piece of it. These guys have played a lot of ball. As I've mentioned, they've worked really hard through the summer. And so I feel like on both sides of the ball and in special teams, we're further along.
And how about this? The obvious. And we'll find out pretty soon that this will be a more physical, clip number 3, team.
We have to be physical. We have to be able to run the football. We're working hard. I think we're making big improvement. I mentioned the offensive line. It starts there. I know we're very big, stronger. We're working on that depth, and the backs are really good players.
You know, with all the talk, Jimmy, about the offensive line being better, and I keep on saying it's going to be much better. How much better? We're going to find out. I don't know. But I tell you what hasn't been talked about enough. They are so much deeper running back. It's not even funny. It's not even close, by the way. It's totally, they got 4 guys who can play. And if there's a 5th, I don't know who it is, but there's 4 guys. You know, you got the young kids from last year who did a nice job as young kids. Now they're more serious. Now they're stronger. And the 2 kids that were brought in, you got Nebraska and Oklahoma, and the McCowan kid. I want to tell you what, I thought I didn't think he was going to be skinny, Jimmy, but he was thicker than I thought just watching him. He's got a little shakeability, and he's tough, and he's strong, and even Stoops has called him a big-time player. So the other part of this, the running backs are going to help the offensive line. I will be shocked beyond belief if they don't run the ball much better this year. Much better this year. How much better? Don't know. Alan Stein coming up next. Want to talk about our friends in the Quantrill Auto Group, fast, friendly service, and their experienced finance team works hard to approve more buyers, including those with bad credit. Good credit, bad credit, check them out. Take advantage of their subprime financing and find your next vehicle today. Drive the Cadillac you want without the extra cost. That's Quantrill Cadillac, Quantrill Subaru, Quantrill Volvo. I trust them. They take care of people. They've been really, really good for decades and decades and decades, and they've donated to over 50 local charities and events. They are part of the community. The Quantrill Auto Group. Alan Stein coming up next. Our friends at Quantrill, we have 2 cars from that. Alan Cutler, 1300 AM, 92.5 FM. And if you want to hit the text machine, it is, Jimmy?
859-381-1313.
And we got a couple more people join our Facebook page, which we're not promoting enough, and we should. We just started a couple weeks ago. And that address is?
YouTube or Facebook?
YouTube.
Okay. ESPN Sports Radio, 1300 AM.
Did I say Facebook?
Yeah.
I'm sure you're right, and I'm sure I'm wrong. Alan Stein coming up next. Alan Cutler, 1300 AM, 92.5 FM.
No Filter Radio with Alan Cutler, brought to you by Quantrill Auto Group. Quantrill for Life.
And events. So play as hard as you work. Go where you've never been and keep it local like Quantrill Subaru. QuantrillSubaru.com.
Houchins Insurance Group is proud to partner with Auto Owners Insurance, a company that provides opportunity for independent agents to make insurance simple for their clients, offering risk management services that range from a renter's policy for your college student to home and auto coverage for your entire family. Houchins Insurance Group assures you that nobody works harder to keep you protected from life's uncertainties. Reach out to AJ Boss or Zach Bennett at 859-263-2771 to see if Auto Owners Insurance makes sense for you.
Hey, I'm Dale Wise. I've just recently retired. I know that the electronics, if you don't keep up with it, it can get away from you and get real confusing. Republic Bank's app, I use their app, and it is so easy to use. I log in with my fingerprint, so it's super easy. I don't have to remember 50 million different passwords and all that stuff. And it lays it out just real nice.
That's Dale's story. Now let's get to work on yours. Republic Bank. Time to thrive. Member FDIC. Data rates may apply.
It's summertime, and that means it's time to hit the road.
Whether you're heading across town or across the state, going on a picnic, to a baseball game, or driving to the lake, stop by, fill up, and stock up at Clark's Pump and Shop, your road trip headquarters.
Clark's Pump and Shop has everything you need to get you to your summertime destination, including assorted Jolly Rancher or Twizzler peg bags, 2 for $5, and Jack Link's 2-ounce steak strip or extra large beef and cheese, 2 for $6.
Clark's Pump and Shop. Return, refresh, refuel.
Back to No Filter Radio with Alan Cutler. Podcasts on Apple, Spotify, and Google, Monday through Friday.
Welcome back. Alan Cutler, 1300 AM, 92.5 FM. Years ago, I dubbed him Mr. Baseball in Lexington. Sorry for my voice cracking, but Jimmy, I normally drop things, but my phone was dropping, which is how I'm doing the show. The system is so much better. I got to fix this even more, or I just should admit how clumsy I am. This man's not clumsy. Done a hell of a job in Lexington, Mr. Alan Stein. Steiny, how are you?
Doing okay, Alan. How are you today?
I'm good. Are you so happy? Or maybe you did go to Bristol to watch that debacle over the weekend that could have been a beautiful thing for baseball in the world, but they really screwed that up. The weather did too.
Well, I did not go. I had tickets. I was ready to go, but I couldn't walk. I had my foot issue came up, so I had to give up my tickets. I also had to give up my tickets to see the Dodgers this week and Shohei Ohtani in Cincinnati. I just couldn't get around very well.
Ooh,
but it wasn't too bad. I got to spend the week watching Legends games, so that was okay.
That's a beautiful thing. Sorry for stepping on you, but I'm sorry you gave up tickets to watch Shohei. That, you could feel, and I didn't go up there, but you could feel the excitement just watching on TV and stuff like that. And this was an opportunity to Reds to sell tons of tickets for the rest of the year. Had they swept the Dodgers or something like that, but they played hard and they're doing okay. So
they're doing okay. Ginger did take the tickets and she went to the games and had fun. Interestingly enough, I know this isn't why you called, but I've been fascinated how Shohei Ohtani, who really is one of the most incredible baseball players you've ever seen, dominates everybody in Major League Baseball except the Reds. He has very little luck against the Reds. He's got maybe 1 or 2 home runs in 4 years against them. He had only 1 significant hit in this series, and the 2 pitching injuries he's had have come against the Reds. It's really an interesting kind of black mark for him. I bet he doesn't want to play them anymore.
Actually, I wouldn't blame him. You know what? I didn't realize that both the arm injuries happened against the Reds.
Yeah. Crazy. Anyway.
I went through a bunch of numbers last week without going through it again. And I know different eras and stuff like that. Babe Ruth didn't play against, African Americans, and that hurt more than I think some people in history realize, and I know you realized it. But it is amazing when you look at his pitching records and records that Babe Ruth had, as you know, that stood the test of time for decades and decades. I actually watched in 61 when Whitey Ford, I was watching on TV as a kid, black and white TV. Whitey Ford as a kid broke Babe Ruth's record for most consecutive innings without giving up a run in the World Series. I mean, so I'm not ready to say, I know it's a different era. I'm not ready to say that Shohei is better than Babe Ruth. I think he's number 2.
Well, who knows? I mean, it is a difference in era. Babe Ruth was just so incredible, and we really don't have a perspective of how great he was. He certainly was head and shoulders above almost everybody he played against. Although not everybody, the guy that hit behind him in the lineup was pretty close to just as good.
Lou Gehrig.
Yeah. So, it's hard to compare, but what we're seeing with Shohei Ohtani is something that, true baseball fans should be saying to their not so dedicated baseball fans, you need to see this guy because you're not going to see it again.
I buy that. I absolutely buy that. Babe Ruth had over 100 complete games as a pitcher besides some of the other stuff, ERA under 3. It's just crazy when you look at his pitching numbers. By the way, not that you need a suggestion me for the Legends, but can I give you one and then I will go into the Reds?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
You need to copy. I don't mean you need like I'm telling you what to do. The Portland Pickles. I'm sure you saw it. I'm sure you saw it.
That's pretty funny. And honestly, we could do that. We're at a higher level than are they. We can't just pick up a guy out of the stands. And honestly, I'll tell you, nobody really thinks that happened that way. He's, think of professional wrestling, guys that show up and out of the stands and that sort of stuff. This guy could play. Nobody really thinks that he was just a random guy, but that's what they did.
Yeah, one, I agree with you. Two, let me explain what it was so people are saying, what the hell is he talking about? Which could happen all the time anyway. So they took a guy, wink, wink, and I couldn't agree with you more, Alan. Wink, wink, out of the stands, he hit a home run. His swing was really good, and he swung really hard.
Yeah.
So, really, it's the first time he played. I don't care if the kid played college ball. I looked at the kid, I'm going, he must have played college ball somewhere. I would hope he didn't play minor league ball, which wouldn't shock me. I don't care. The still thing, he came out and hit a home run. It was great.
Oh, yeah, it was fun. Now, we can't do that because, we're a Major League Baseball partner league. And so, our guys have contracts. They go through vetting. You have to go through the commissioner's office to get trades and sign people and release them and all that kind of stuff. And they got to go. You just can't randomly put a guy on your roster, but you could have somebody that you sign and then 3 or 4 days later, after he's gone through the system, could appear in a game. That's a possibility. So we couldn't do exactly what the Pickles did, but we could do a facsimile of that. I think.
Yeah, somebody local, fun. That kind of stuff. It'd be fun.
But, we sort of do that. JT Riddle, a former major leaguer, was coaching at Franklin County. And his agent called up and said, hey, JT wants to come back and play a little bit. So we signed him. And, 3 days later, he was in the lineup. So, that sort of thing can happen.
Sure.
It's fun. It's fun.
JT's a good guy, by the way. He's done the show and has had a really nice career, and it's really good that guys like JT and Austin Kearns are working with young people because they have the right temperament, and they certainly have the knowledge to help out young. Look, if I'm playing for from JT or at Austin, I'm gobbling up every single word. Hey, you were in the big show. I should shut up and listen to you. It's a pretty simple deal.
No kidding. That's absolutely right.
I have a feeling we're not going to agree. Are you? What I'm about to say? You ready?
Okay. That happens.
Only when we talk, Alan. Alan Stein, Mr. Legend, who brought baseball back to Lexington. Do you love, are you menza, or do you not like the trade? The Reds' big trade, and I got to tell you, I haven't opened my show on Thursday saying that I was wrong. I have to no filter myself because I didn't think the Reds would do anything like this. So I was wrong. Happy to be wrong. But do you believe that you love, or don't like the Hayes trade to play third base with everything else that was involved with the trade between Pittsburgh and Cincinnati?
Yeah, I like it. It was kind of an under-the-radar thing. It caught me off guard, as it did, almost everybody. But in retrospect, I've been able to watch, we all have, I guess, Brian Hayes since he came up 3 or 4 years ago. And the perspective that we have of him is that he's a hell of a player, because he kills the Reds when he's in Pittsburgh. He literally looked like Babe Ruth himself sometimes. But that aside, when you look at the back of the baseball card, you do have some issues with his offense. But defensively, what he brings to the Reds and anchors the whole left side of the infield that they've had issues with all year long. They tried Gavin Lux there. He doesn't have the arm for it. They tried CEF. He was unsure of himself at third base, and his offense didn't come around. They tried Marte. His offense is coming around, but, he was shaky as he could be over there. And nobody on that side had the range that could help Ellie having to try to make every single play. So putting Brian Hayes there, who arguably will win a Gold Glove again this year, won't be his first one. Many would tell you that he's the best defensive player in all third basemen in all of Major League Baseball. There are some who would say that Nolan Arenado still is that guy. It's hard to argue that, but he's certainly amongst the best at the hot corner. I think he really shores that up, and it gives the Reds the opportunity to go ahead and insert Marte into right field, where he appears to be pretty comfortable defensively and offensively. He's hitting close to 300. He's a solid guy. It looks like he's going to be an answer for them in the outfield. So I kind of like the trade. It's not an earth-shattering, crazy trade, but if Brian Hayes does anything offensively, if they can tweak him a little bit and get him to lift the ball instead of hitting all ground balls all the time, I think that he could be a much better hitter than what he has shown the last 2 years in Pittsburgh. And let's face it, playing in Pittsburgh has not been a motivating factor for anybody who's over there. Those guys that get away from Pittsburgh seem to flourish. Let's hope that Hayes does the same thing. I like it. I don't know what.
Go ahead.
I'd be interested to hear your take on it.
I have a strange take. Are you surprised?
No, not at all.
Okay. The first thing I thought of, I promise you, since you know me well, first thing that came out of my mouth was Sal Stewart. So they got this kid, as you know very well, who's a big time, and sometimes they don't work out. But, when Manny Machado has been counseling you for 8 years and you have this kind of talent and he's got the right work ethic and he goes into AAA, he's moved up and he's doing really well and he's a third baseman, my first thought is, okay, they suck at third base. Espinal is the best defensive player, but he can't hit. And last week, with 14 RBIs and over 250 at-bats, they pinch hit him for a guy who hit a home run during that game, and it drove me crazy. The point is, he's your best defensive third baseman, and he should be an extra guy, filling in on defense and double switches, and almost never start unless the guy is tired. So they're terrible defensively, third base. Couldn't agree with you more. But they got this Stewart kid. So apparently he can play second. And now I read an article, this really ticked me off, Al. I read an article last night which said, well, now that Stewart will probably have to move to second base, they'll just trade McClain. And I'm going, you know what? I get that McClain hasn't hit the way you expected. I love him. Sometimes it takes a little while. You got to have a little patience. I think he's going to be a wonderful, I could easily be wrong, a wonderful player. What I would want to do is put Stewart on second, McClain at short, and put Ellie in the outfield. And you're going to disagree with all of that.
No, not all of it. I would not move Ellie to the outfield. I'd leave him at shortstop. And McClain is the second baseman. I agree with you totally. Look, he was injured, came off of an injury, and took forever to get started this year. But since the 1st of June, he's hitting almost 300. He's raised his average from 160 to almost 230.
And Alan, I've talked about it a number of times on the show how much he's improved tremendously with his bat. So I'm with you on that. I love him, by the way. Even when he was seeing 160, 170, Francona obviously had some patience, which sometimes is beautiful. Go ahead, please. Sorry for interrupting.
Yeah. So I agree that McClain is the second baseman. I still like Brian Hayes at third base right now, South Stewart is not quite ready defensively to come to the big leagues. I don't know if you've had a chance to watch him. He is a professional hitter, no question about it. They're gonna have to find a spot for him, I believe, somewhere in the lineup. But today's not the day to be doing that, I don't think. Let him get some more seasoning, at least play out the season in Louisville. And if he continues to hit as he has in Louisville, they're going to have to make room for him somewhere. But I would not be trading McLean. I would not be moving Ellie to the outfield. There are two reasons for that. One is a legitimate physical reason, and that is he's at much greater risk in the outfield for injury than he is at shortstop. It happens time and time and time again. These guys get moved to the outfield and they get hurt. So that's reason one, I would not do that. But number two is a little more esoteric, and that is you have a budding superstar in Ellie De La Cruz, and you've got him at least for 4 more seasons. And, who knows, they may try to extend him and keep him for his entire career. But at least for the next 4 seasons, while this window of opportunity is open, he's a shortstop, and he sees himself as a shortstop. If Ellie decides one day that he wants to go to Tito Pancrona and say, you know what, I'll go wherever you want me to. If you think it'll help for me to go to the outfield, that's one thing. But he has made it very clear, and so has his agent. And we know his agent is a Bulldog, Scott Boras, that he's a shortstop. His value is as a shortstop. That's where he wants to get paid, as a shortstop. I'm not moving Ellie off a shortstop for that one very reason. He sees himself there and he wants to be there. And I think you diminish him when you take him off a shortstop.
Well,
Guy plays every single day, every inning. He wants to play. He's got an incredible attitude. His work ethic, although you may not be able to, we don't get to see it every day. If you look at what he has done in terms of improvement of his game this year from last year and the year before that, you can see that he's working on the things that matter. He's cut his strikeout rate by almost 35%. His balls in play are through the roof. His hard hit and barrel rate is unbelievable. The raw numbers, he's not stealing as many bases, and that has more to do with Tito Francona and the philosophy of the team and that sort of stuff. But he still is, top 3 or 4 base stealers in the game. He's a power guy. He's going to end up with 25 home runs or so. He's 4th in the league in hits. He's 3rd in the league in on-base percentage. I'm leaving him alone. I'm not fooling with that. So the question then is, what do we do with Sal Stewart? I'm not sure. Let's deal with that next year.
I just hope they don't trade McLean. By the way, I don't think so either. This is somebody writing a column said, well, he's the guy, trade bait to get somebody. I'm going, no.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. People don't know what they're talking about. A lot of people don't, including you and me. At the end of the day, ours are just opinions too. But having said that, I do not think that McLean is even considered by anybody to be on the trade market. So, he's the second baseman. Ellie's the shortstop. And, let's see what happens at first and third. They've got a lot of puzzle pieces to move around. But right now, I kind of like where they are. It's going to be interesting in this offseason, though, because they've got some significant pieces who are playing out their contracts and will become free agents, including, Austin Hayes being one of them. And so that, to me, with Austin Hayes and Nick Martinez, how they're going to deal with those guys is going to be interesting to me. And that may end up having something to do with how they manage Sal Stewart. And beyond that, Edwin Arroyo, too. Let's see what happens with him. So a lot of interesting things. That's why we love baseball so much. there's so many nuances and things that we can think about, talk about, and debate. It just keeps the game exciting.
By the way, Alan, I did this last Wednesday and Thursday when I was screaming because one of those 2 days, Marte had batted ninth, and then he moved him up, I think, to eighth or something, and then he finally moved him to sixth. But he was on pace, and I love playing this game. He still is on pace. I looked at the numbers again when you were talking. And by the way, thank you for speaking for yourself about not knowing everything, because I know I don't. But I sure sound like I do. But you and I love baseball. But Marte is on pace for, if he had a little over 500 at bats, giving you rough numbers, but really, really close, 25 home runs and over 100 RBIs. Now, there's a lot of at-bats to go. He's not going to get that many at-bats this year because he was hurt and then down and had to come back and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But I love his bat. I don't like his bat. I love his bat. And I tell you what, the other thing I like, last time he hit a home run, I'm looking at the dugout, and who comes over to give him a big hug? Ellie. It's like Ellie is taking him underneath his wings, and I loved it. And Ellie was squeezing him. It was really good, and I think Marte just needs a little love. And he got the last home run he got was off a guy who doesn't give home runs to right-handers, and his swing is great. And maybe he's the right fielder. If he's not, DH him. He's got to get 550 at-bats because they want to trade for a power bat. Maybe it's right in front of your nose.
I 100% agree with that. I don't think he's going to hit 40 home runs, but I think he will consistently hit 20 to 25, maybe even 30 home runs. And he's going to steal 20 bases, and he's got a good, strong arm. He appears to me to be much more relaxed in the outfield than he was at third base.
Yeah,
you could just see. Same thing with CES. They were making the plays and just still didn't have the confidence to make the play, make the throw, and be done with it. But both of them would just drive you crazy because you had no idea where the ball was going to go from third base. Now we don't have that problem anymore. And I got to tell you, I kind of like the Reds' chances. The problem is they lost some games that, everybody loses games they shouldn't. Just look at the Yankees this week. But you hate it because they're not that far away from really, really being in the thick of things. They're 4 games back of the Padres. People are now talking in baseball about the Padres maybe catching the Dodgers. Well, okay, that's interesting. And they're only the Padres are closer to first place Dodgers than they are in the wild card to where the Reds are. They're only 3 games back of the Dodgers. They're 4 games ahead of the Reds in the wild card. So, you could say, wow, that's great. We don't have to worry about the Padres. But then, the math just doesn't work because now you're 7 games behind the Dodgers. And if that's who you got to catch, you're in trouble.
In a lot of trouble.
I think it's going to be tough. The Padres are hot. They've loaded up. They're confident. And they've got a relatively easy schedule down the stretch. It's going to be hard to catch them. But I still think we're going to end up in the, in the mid 80s range, 83, 4, 5, 86 wins for the Reds. And who knows, if they go into Chicago, they've got Lodolo starting tonight. They get into Chicago and they take 2 there and they've got the Padres at the end of the season for 3. Who knows? It could happen. They've got the pitching that you feel like gives you a chance almost every day.
It's amazing.
I think, what, interestingly enough, the trade deadline, again, another kind of below the radar deal here, trading off Taylor Rogers, the former UK player, who was only having, a mediocre at best year in the bullpen, getting rid of him and his big salary and swapping that for Ke'Bryan Hayes, that looked like a pretty good move from the front office to me. But then you get Littell, and he's not costing you very much money and didn't cost you very much in terms of prospect trades. And it moves Martinez to the bullpen, and you've got Hunter Green coming back. If Hunter can stay healthy, you move Chase Burns to the bullpen. Now you've got that back end guy that throws 100. That he strikes out 2 or 3 guys every first inning that he has started this year. Every game, it's amazing how good the guy is. So you can imagine him like a David Price, how the Rays used him in his rookie year when they wanted to limit his innings toward the end of the year. And you bring him out of the back of the bullpen for the last 30 games, and then he's in your starting rotation next year. I think the Reds have a real opportunity for a bit of a good run here for the next few years. While Ellie and McClain and Steer and Marte are all young and on rookie contracts, there's a chance for the Reds to make it happen. I'm excited for them.
I think those are all really good possibilities. The Giants are paying half of Taylor Rogers' salary. They still save some money, so that's good. And if Burns goes in the bullpen with Martinez, now all of a sudden the Reds don't have the best bullpen in baseball, but they're higher than in the top third because San Diego now has a 7-inning game with their 2 relievers. Philadelphia's got much better that way. But if you put Burns, if Green is finally healthy, you put Burns and Martinez in the bullpen, it totally changes the team. Totally changes. I like Luttrell. I know Luttrell gives up a ton of home runs, and we all know Cincinnati's the bandbox, but he, somehow he eats a lot of innings, and he keeps you in games, and he's going to help your bullpen by eating innings and stuff like that. And obviously, Tampa Bay always trades somebody when they're not going to sign them, and they don't think they can afford to. They're very good at that, and that's fine. And I thought it was I like that trade a lot. Look, I know this. For some reason, guys go to Pittsburgh, and there's something depressing about playing in Pittsburgh when you're showing up every day as a major leaguer and you're thinking you're going to lose 100 games. It's depressing. And I would think the second thing that'll help Hayes out is the fact that he's got more of a chance here in Cincinnati. And he hits well in Cincinnati. Maybe he just thinks the seats are that much closer or something like that. I also thought it was interesting where they said they thought they could change his swing a little bit. And I went,
Yeah, I heard Chris Valeka was on Major League Baseball after the trade on MLB TV, and the hitting coach for the Reds, and who is a strong proponent. You can see it in this year's team. He's a station to station guy. Hit the ball, hit line drives, keep the line moving kind of guy. Don't wait for home runs. Don't worry about home runs. Don't strike out as much. Let's do these things. But it was interesting because he was almost the opposite with Key Brian Hayes in talking about him. He said, he's got a beautiful flat swing. We need to elevate him just a little bit because he's got power. He's got power alley power. He's the kind of guy that can really help us. And dadgum, if he didn't come in his first game and hit a 3-run homer, and he's got 2 more hits since then. So, I think the change of scenery is going to do him well, but the defense is really what's going to make the difference there.
Well, I like their first baseman, Steer. I like their second baseman. I like their third baseman. I'm not a fan of Ellie playing shortstop, but that's me. The rest of Ellie is just spectacular. Hey, we can't agree on everything. That wouldn't be right, Alan.
We're close.
Actually,
close today.
Pretty close. Yeah. Okay. So give me something on the Legends and how you guys are doing and the fun you're having and that kind of stuff.
Well, we're playing very well right now. We've got a new nickname for our guys. They are the double-digit dogs. They've scored in double digits 20-plus times this year. They've struck out 10 or more batters, going on 40 times this year. So every time they get close to 10, we're selling T-shirts that say double-digit dogs, and we're doing a little growl and a thing on the video board, and the fans are really getting into it. The crowds have been great this year. Our attendance, with what we've already sold through the rest of the year, we've only got 18 home games left. Our attendance is going to be 300%, triple what it was when we bought the club a year ago.
Wow!
So the crowds have been great. The team is good. We're in first place with 39 games to go overall. We just took 4 out of 6 from the second place team in our division, who won the first half, That's who will probably be playing in the playoffs if we get there. So we're playing well. We're hitting lots of home runs. Interesting statistic. Dylan Rock, one of our great players, you've had him on the show, is at 19 home runs. He's got 27 stolen bases. So he's only one dinger away from joining the 2020 club. Interestingly enough, we're in our 25th year in Lexington playing baseball. We've only had one guy before this year who was in the 2020 club. That was John Topolsky in year one, 2001. This year, Braden Whalen is in the 2020 club, and we've got Dylan Rock right behind him. We're going to have two of those guys, it looks like. So it's a lot of fun to watch this team. We score a bunch of runs. Even when we lose, we're scoring 8, 9, and 10 runs. So it's a fun team to watch for sure.
Congratulations on attendance topping 300% from last year when you guys repurchased the team. That's crazy spectacular.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to get too crazy about that because, as my mother would say, you can damn with faint praise. So the bar was very low when we bought the club back. I got to say that. So, we should be doing what we're doing, and we're not where we want to end up being by any means, but we are certainly trending in the right direction.
I got you. And do me a favor, Al. I think we need to play taps for my Yankees. They have the worst road record in baseball since like mid-June. It's terrible. It's just terrible. Miami just kicked the blank out of them.
You've got a designated hitter coming back tonight, I think. So
rumor has it he's pretty good.
Yeah, he just can't throw, and he doesn't have to. He's going to DH now.
Yeah, but the problem is Stanton's playing well, and you can't stick him in right field.
Yeah, it's a problem. Yeah, I mean, it's a problem for sure. Isn't it interesting how all of us, baseball fans everywhere, we all know who should get traded for and what this team needs and what we need to plug this hole. And gosh, if we just had this guy. So the Yankees decide that what they really need to do is shore up their bullpen. And of the top 5 relievers who are available for trades, they got 3 of them. And everybody's happy, right? Until they get into the games. They've been abysmal since they've been in New York. So you just don't know how these things are going to go. You just don't know.
Well, here's my theory on that. I think guys show up to New York from places like Colorado, no disrespect, and all of a sudden they go, I'm wearing a Yankee uniform, and I got to shave my beard, or it's got to be really close, so let me have that, and my mustache better be trimmed, and this is putting on pinstripe. And I think it takes a while for guys to get comfortable. And then what happens when you have a bad debut like they had, they bring all these guys in, now the pressure amplifies, so they just got to relax. Will they? Have no idea. But I got to tell you, I really like the moves that they made. I mean, there's nothing really not to like. I mean, even the worst reliever they brought in is a guy who could be really good, should be really good. The Bird guy should be really good in a losing situation. So I like what Cashman did, and I often don't like what he does or doesn't do enough with that kind of stuff. And so far, it's terrible. But you know what? It's too small of a sample.
Where everybody got beat. And San Diego, this is why I like San Diego's position so much. They got Mason Miller. The Yankees went after as many good relievers as they could, but they didn't go after Mason Miller. And he is the stud, and he's going to make all the difference for San Diego, I think. That guy's really good. And he was available, and somehow or another, nobody knew that except A.J. Preller in San Diego, and they got him.
And the Yankees could have given up much more than A.J. Preller gave up, even without giving up their top 2-3 people.
Yeah, so, no question about it.
Okay, now this is an interesting point. See, here's what I don't understand. You got a guy named Miller who's young, controllable for years, tops out at 100, that kind of stuff, has electric stuff. Everybody who follows the game knows. Why would you make the deal without telling other people that this guy can be available and then try to get more people just to bid against each other to get more talent? That's the part I don't understand.
Who knows? And sometimes, I know this from being in the game, scouts, but even more so agents, do a lot of whispering in a lot of different ears, and you just don't know who has said what to whom. It could very well be that Mason Miller or his agent said to somebody, I do not want to go to Boston or to New York. And I'm from the San Diego area. So let that be your guide, kind of thing. Who knows? We just don't know.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
No clue.
Yeah, me either. Me either.
I'm happy you guys are scoring runs. I like the double-digit dogs for your nickname. I think that's really cool. Yeah. The tennis up 300% from when you purchased the team. It's great. Obviously, you guys have made huge strides with the Legends, and the more runs you score, the more fun it is, the more people show up because everybody loves runs. Alan, thank you so much. We disagreed a little bit, not enough today. I'm worried about both of us.
Not very much.
Yeah, what's wrong?
This has been fun.
Yeah, it's always fun. Hey, I'm happy for your success. Take care of your foot, brother, and hopefully talk to you down the line.
Okay, we'll talk to you.
Thank you. Alan Stein, Mr. Baseball in Lexington, no question about it. Jimmy, he's great for the game of baseball.
He really is. I could talk listen to him talk baseball or talk baseball with him for hours and hours.
Mm-hmm. I saw his logic about Ellie. I knew it was coming. I still don't agree with it, and that's fine. We don't have to agree. You know what? I'm going to have to get he and Hal McCoy in together. We're going to do that.
That would be a masterclass.
Yes, we're going to do that because Hal would do it and Stein would do it. I know Stein has to know Hal. I'm sure he does. And we're going to get them both on the phone. I'm going to say, okay, who goes first? I'll go third. Not because I agree with Hal McCoy, but, he does bring up a couple really good points. This is not the old hang up on the person and then rip them because that's BS. But Alan Stein makes a really good point about the fact that Ellie wants to be a shortstop. And he plays with such joy. And I've wondered this, if you put him in the outfield, would it take some of that joy away? Maybe. Because he is one of the most, he's got a $1 million smile. And his joy is infectious. And I really think he's helped out Marte, as I've mentioned. When Ellie comes over and hugs another player like that, one of his boys who needs some positive, you could just tell from the hug that he's taking him underneath his wings. That's the part. And the other parts that Alan said, I know it, and he's right. He's cut his strikeouts down. He's not swinging as hard. He still at times needs to swing less hard. Is that a way of putting it? Because he's so strong, if he just gets the fat part of the bat on, hits line drives, I actually think he can hit 300. I really do. And he's stealing fewer bases because I think Tito doesn't want him to run as much, wants him to run when they need it more than just running for the sake of running and running into some outs, which he's done too many times. But he's unbelievably exciting. I mean, in the last 30 years, he's one of the most exciting players in the last 30 years in baseball, but he doesn't make the average play at shortstop the way a shortstop should. I could have gotten into it with Al, but we would have started yelling and screaming at each other. So he wants to keep him at shortstop, and I want to keep McClain at second base like he does. And I'm good with Hayes at third as long as they find a spot for Stewart, and you can usually find a spot for Stewart. And I hope they leave Marte in right field. Just leave him there. Let him play every day. And then if he can't play right field, you got to DH him. A lot of guys have moved from the infield to outfield. Mickey Mantle did. I'm not comparing Marte to Mickey Mantle. Hubie Brooks did. I thought of him the other day for a story I won't go into, but he had a hell of a major league career. When I did play-by-play as a child in the business, he was playing shortstop for the Boulder Collegians. Bob Horner was playing third base. And so guys have moved from the infield to outfield, and at times it has been very successful. Guys have moved all over. That part I wasn't going to argue with Al. I'd want to see some numbers, but I don't have as much of a problem moving a guy from the infield to the outfield as he does. That's me. That's okay. We can have a different philosophy. But his logic was great. And it's always fun talking to Al. And, the Reds do have a chance. If Green comes back, Burns is going in the bullpen. You put Burns and Martinez in the bullpen. That's now a hell of a bullpen. That's interesting. That's a hell of a bullpen. Best bullpen in baseball? No. Top 3? No. Top 10? Lower part? Yeah. Yeah, and as I've told you many times, I really like this starting pitching. I mean, that was my thing in Cincinnati. I go, pitching, and their pitching was terrible. Well, they have brought along a number of really good starters, and they got a couple more that will either be there next year or the year after. It's a credit to the scouting department. Tell you what's a credit to my health is Blue Lotus Health. I will see Ramon today. Blue Lotus Health, on Versailles Road, Blue Lotus Health. now also providing a licensed massage therapist. Acupuncture. Ramon is great. He's helped me tremendously. I recommend it highly. I'm actually trying to convince one of my neighbors to go who really needs it and they can afford it. But the problem is, and I get this, and I'm not being negative, a lot of people are set in certain ways and don't see something outside the box. I get it. I understand it. I respect it. I'm not being negative. I'm just saying think outside the box for your health, because this can be a beautiful thing to help your health. 859-533-0914. 859-533-0914. Acupuncture, please use my name. Say, hey, Ramon, when you set up an appointment, I heard Cutler talking about you on the Alan Cutler Show, Blue Lotus Health. Alan Cutler, 1300 AM, 92.5 FM.
No Filter Radio with Alan Cutler, brought to you by Quantrell Auto Group. QuantrellForLife.com.
Hi, this is Alan Cutler. Have a no-filter comment? Hit the text line, 859-381-1313. 859-381-1313.
It's summertime, and that means it's time to hit the road.
Whether you're heading across town or across the state, going on a picnic, to a baseball game, or driving to the lake, stop by, fill up, and stock up at Clark's Pump and Shop, your road trip headquarters.
Clark's Pep and Shop has everything you need to get you to your summertime destination, including assorted Milky Way, Snickers, or Twix share-size candy bars, 2 for $4, and Combo's 5-ounce bags, 2 for $5.
Clark's Pump and Shop. Return, refresh, refuel.
Lexington, it's time to feel the warmth and spread the love in a brand new Subaru from Quantrell Subaru. This is Alan Cutler, and you can feel good about working with the Quantrell family for your next Subaru, because not only do we get the best in sales, service, and no gimmicks, but for decades, the Quantrell family of dealerships has donated to over 50 local charities and events. So play as hard as you work, go where you've never been, and keep it local at Quantrell Subaru. QuantrellSubaru.com.
Houchins Insurance Group is proud to partner with Auto Owners Insurance, a company that provides opportunity for independent agents to make insurance simple for their clients, offering risk management services that range from a renter's policy for your college student to home and auto coverage for your entire family. Houchins Insurance Group assures you that nobody works harder to keep you protected from life's uncertainties. Reach out to AJ Boss or Zach Bennett at 859-263-2771 to see if Auto Owners Insurance makes sense for you.
Hey, I'm Dale Wise. I've just recently retired. I know that the electronics, if you don't keep up with it, it can get away from you and get real confusing. Republic Bank's app, I use their app, and it is so easy to use. I log in with my fingerprint, so it's super easy. I don't have to remember 50 million different passwords and all that stuff. And it lays it out just real nice.
That's Dale's story. Now let's get to work on yours. Republic Bank. Time to thrive. Member FDIC. Data rates may apply.
W223CV Lexington. ESPN Sports Radio 1392.5. WLXG Lexington. And LM Communications Broadcasting Station. The only no-filter sports show in Kentucky. It's the Alan Cutler Show with award-winning TV sportscaster Alan Cutler.
Every play, it's like a science project, right? And they have to. Football IQ is so important for us, and we have to be able to keep it forward or stay ahead of it. And that's something that we're also doing this camp. We're spending extra time at night just working on 2-minute, third down, specialty blitzes, you name it. Just trying to work on all of that to get better and to get ahead.
Welcome back. Alan Cutler, 1300 AM, 92.5 FM. A couple things in that Stoops bite from Saturday after practice. One, they're doing more work on specific things, which I think is great. And I like, Jimmy, his term of science project, right? Because you're trying to get 11 people, on the same page with a lot of new people. That's kind of a nice way to put it, a little differently. So it's good. Tons of practices to go. We have a long time between now and the opening game. And what do you hear these kids say? And the coaches say, got to accomplish something every day. Got to accomplish something every day. Got to accomplish something every day. It's just what you have to do. You definitely have to do it. Otherwise, it's just not going to work. So it's nice to get a feeling. Watching Stoops on Saturday, he's positive. Now, Jagger Burton. I've said this many, many, many times. I'm rooting for him like crazy. I think he's now got the right size and strength and all that kind of stuff. He's a great kid, trying to help people out. Local kid, star high school player, could have gone all kinds of places. He's, bounced around on the line. There's no question about it, but he had a little trouble snapping the ball over the weekend. But he is a leader, and I'm rooting for this kid like crazy, and he was working on snaps after practice and that kind of stuff, and I think he's going to work it out. That would be my guess. So this is a really nice comment, clip number 5, Stoops on the local kid, the center, Jagger Burton.
Jagger has just been, awesome. He wants to help this football team any way he can. He's been very unselfish. I think, for his future, being able to play both is super important for him. And he's worked really hard at it, very conscientious. He's busting his butt. I mean, he's a guy that, before practice and certainly afterwards, my office looks over it. But, 40 minutes later, he's out there snapping and working on things. So he's really working hard.
And he's really working. And he's doing, I think, a really good job. He had some snap problems. I'm going to negate that at this particular point in time because there are going to be some mistakes early. What happens when they start snapping for real? Stoops, really big, on the secondary as a secondary coach. That's what he played. That's how he broke his teeth in the business. And he's been big, like a lot of guys, wanting a length in the secondary. And he says he has it. He's excited. They need to develop some depth. But one of the things that came out of this weekend is that they are very confident in the secondary, and they possibly could be good. Jumping to a different topic with Stoops, talks about a young man who was very good over the weekend, Cutler.
It was really nice because at the end of one of the segments of the blitz, he missed one that he had an opportunity to convert on a third down. And the next series, he went in and moved the team right down the field. And I think on that rep, it was third down, third and long. You're going to get pressure. And he was buying time in the pocket very well, but he got a little happy feet, and missed the throw. And then later he just settled in. I just think with every opportunity like that, he's getting better and better. He's more comfortable. You can see he's like 222 pounds, I think, right now. He changed his body. He's worked really hard. And he's just getting more comfortable.
Getting more comfortable. And that's $1 million question. How will this quarterback thing shake out? I mean, Calzada is a starter. Certainly seems that Cutter Boley won the weekend, but it's just a couple of days. And it seems to me that Calzada has to be awful, which I don't see happening, and Boley has to really knock him out to take the job away. All that is possible. Will it? I have no idea. Have no idea at all. None. By the way, I want to give a little hat tip to Mitch Barnhart. He opened up the press conference talking about all the people in the media we've lost in the last year and all the people in the media that retired. It was a very nice touch. Didn't have to do that. And I don't know if it was his idea or maybe Tony Neely's idea. It doesn't matter whose idea it was. He did it. And it meant a lot to me because there's some of the people that are no longer with us, Chuck Perry just recently, Lonnie Demery within the last year. I'm going to start going through a list, but I forget everybody or somebody. John Clay just retired. Rick Bosa's just retired. I mean, it was really, really nice of Mitch to do. Very, very nice because a lot of those people spend a ton of time at practices in the press box and they're really known by a lot of folks. So I thought that was not a good touch, but I thought it was a terrific, terrific touch. We're going to flip away from football and basketball in a second because I want to get this on for sure before we go to Jared Peck. A lot of things going on in high school with changes and stuff like that. It's that time of year, and I think it'll be a very interesting conversation. So tell me if I got this right. Macy Russell, did I get it right?
Masai.
Again, I got it wrong. I have this thing, and this is embarrassing. With names, I was never great at names, but I've gotten much worse. Anyway, young lady from Louisville wins the gold medal, and she just won another huge championship. And this is her thoughts after the race over the weekend.
How has winning the Olympics helped shape your confidence?
I think winning the Olympics actually it put like a little more pressure like on myself, like on me, because now I feel like I have a standard to uphold. People expect something from the reigning Olympic champion, and I feel like I've told people this before, like I don't think that I would have been blessed with that major title if I wasn't able to carry the weight of that. So it definitely is like a little nerve-wracking at times, but I don't think I would have been blessed with that title if I wasn't ready for it.
Well, she's ready for it. There's pressure for her to succeed, and she's just unbelievable. Unbelievable. And you get the feeling she's going to be around for the next Olympics if everything is healthy and stuff like that. She hasn't peaked. I mean, it is amazing, as you know, how many great track stars in the last 10 years wore Kentucky across their chest. It really, really is amazing. Crazy. So I'm reading the New York Post, and I didn't know this. And if anybody around here knew this, he hit it. Drew Phillips, Kentucky DB, is doing a really nice job of the New York Giants. And I talked about it when he was going to make the team, and he really carved out a role as the primary nickel corner quickly. That didn't surprise me. This as a rookie last year. But he told the New York Post that he was kind of blind for a while when he was here at Kentucky. Jimmy, how do you do this? I mean, I just went a month with little over a month not seeing anything out of my right eye. And so how do you play football? Now, according to the New York Post, they said Phillips underwent LASIK surgery in the offseason to make his life easier. He didn't like wearing contacts. I can see that being a problem, sweating, playing football, all that kind of stuff. And all of a sudden he's seeing so much better. And he says, seeing the ball in the air, that was one of my biggest problems. That's a quote. How do you make it to the NFL when you're a DB trying to judge a ball, Jimmy, and you have trouble seeing the ball in the air? I read this story, and I'm going, this is unbelievable. This kid here kept it quiet. If somebody in UK knew about this, or maybe they knew about it and hid it, or nobody asked them, I don't have any idea, but when you have a DB, Jimmy, who says seeing the ball in the air, that was one of my biggest problems. Wow. Now he says, I can just see the ball, so it helps me in there and outside life, driving and stuff like that. Okay, that's nuts. It's bad enough you're a football player. Now he's seeing better while driving? How the hell was he so good at Kentucky? How the hell did he make the NFL? This is, I don't even know how to describe this, Jimmy. How could you possibly have that much vision problem as a DB and not only get through here, he was a surprise with the Giants last year, which, by the way, didn't surprise me because he was so good as a defender and on the ball. Jimmy, how do you do this? How do you now say I can drive much better because I got LASIK surgery? How do you say that I had trouble seeing the ball in the air and instantly relaxed? This story stupefies me to the point I don't have any descriptions, Jimmy.
Even crazier than this, how about if you played quarterback and you couldn't see, like Jameis Winston? Years into the NFL, he had LASIK surgery, but at Florida State, there was always those pictures of him squinting really bad on the field, and he said, yeah, no, I couldn't see. I needed LASIK. And imagine being a quarterback. I mean, DB is the same thing, but just to see that as a quarterback, the leader of your offense, and you can't see down the field.
Wasn't he also colorblind, or am I confusing that with another quarterback?
I don't know. I don't think he's colorblind, but I think he got the surgery done after the season he had 30 touchdowns, 30 interceptions. Then he finally got the LASIK done, and now he can see.
Okay, at Florida State, they have all the money in the world for football. He wasn't checked?
That's what I'm wondering. Do these guys just kind of fudge the test, or do they do it with glasses or contacts, but when they're out on the field, they can't wear them because it'll fall out and there's just more of an issue? I think that's probably what it is.
Baffling. By the way, here's the best quote from this article. He says, all the while he was, quote, kind of blind. He was one of the bright spots on a horse puck Giants team last year, Jimmy. This is like, it's like indescribable to me. I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you do it. A nice tidbit on KSR, Ansley Amador has signed with the Vikings. I can't even pronounce the name. I'm just going to spell it, Jimmy. If you can figure out pronunciation, that's great. It's really superfluous. It's in Finland. Korisliiga. Good luck with that, Jimmy. Good luck with that. There's no way you're going to get it right. And actually, you could say it with conviction, but how am I supposed to know if you get it right? It really doesn't matter. He's playing for the Vikings. Now, Finland isn't a place where you're making millions of dollars. But guess what? Playing pro ball, making a living. Step number one. So many people go to Europe and then end up moving up and around. And how many times have we seen some of the guys who just played, recently in Lexington, in the TBT? They played for 5 or 6 different countries and stuff like that. Different countries play different salaries and that kind of stuff. He's in. And by the way, could I see Ainsley Almanor playing professional basketball for 10 years from now? Yeah, I can. Do I think he's ever going to play in the NBA? I do not. I hope I'm wrong. I don't see it. But if he's smart, can he set himself up for life playing basketball? I absolutely, unequivocally believe that. He's a great kid, right? You better be a really good kid if you're going to be an international guy, 1. And 2, let's be ridiculously obvious. He can shoot the rock. He can shoot the rock. So I'm happy for him. I expected him to sign overseas somewhere. I had no idea it would be the Vikings. And can you figure out the name of that, Jimmy?
It looks like Korisliiga League.
Actually, that sounds pretty good, but how the heck would I know if you got it right?
Yeah, I don't know. Back-to-back eyes in a word. You don't really see that too much.
Actually, I'm not wearing my glasses, so I'm flipping eyes because of my bad eye, and I had to lean forward to the computer to see that it was really 2 eyes. I wasn't sure it was my eyes seeing it wrong or it really was 2 eyes. That's just what I'm dealing with these days. Hey, you could have a bullseye, and I wouldn't know any different. Let me throw this out there with with young Shepard. So one organization says that Reed Shepard, I forgot the term that they used, but called him the most interesting sophomore in the NBA, something like that. Something along those lines, which I thought is terrific. And then I read another, it just shows all the crap out there. Who really knows that he might be trade bait? By the way, he's making $10.6 million this year. If they end up signing somebody else or if they need somebody, he would be the trade bait. I have no clue. It would seem to me, unless they're overwhelmed like crazy, I'm not saying this because I'm biased, but I think I know his talent. Trading Reed Shepard would be, unless it's something overwhelming, would be incredibly stupid. I think he's going to be one of the surprise people. I don't see him starting. Jimmy, he gets 18, 20, 24 minutes a game being comfortable and stuff like that. He will end up playing at the end of some games because they can't take him out. I think he's going to be that good. But here's one of the paragraphs. Reed Shepard is the Rockets' most obvious trade candidate. And you know what? Maybe getting traded would help him. Seriously, maybe getting traded will help him. And if that's true, that's great. That's great. But I just find it's interesting, the dichotomy and different kinds of possibilities for Reed Shepard. I just want the kid to play. And as I've said many times, the second he was drafted by them, I didn't like it because I didn't see the path of him playing. Said it immediately. Immediately. Not taking it back. Now, with their moving around and some of the trades they made, he should be the first guard off the bench, in my humble opinion, but I don't make that decision. Tell you a decision I think that would be good for you to make, to check out Terry Page. Terry's big, beautiful deal. Not a very good, a spectacular licensed massage therapist. And she's been, as she says, quote, so lucky and blessed to have the ability to ease or eliminate pain from so many over the last 25 plus years. And she wants to give you a shot at a break. Book an appointment now. Get $5 off. Schedule a next appointment before you leave. Get $10 off all following appointments in succession. This offer ends August 29th. If it continues, I will let you know. Here's the number. Please jot it down. I'm telling you, she is spectacular. 859-373-0578. 859-373-0578. Now in Butler, Kentucky, and still in Lexington, Kentucky. First part of the week in Butler, the rest of the week in Lexington. Text her, call her, set an appointment, find out when you can make it, because I'm telling you, she has been so special for me. It's absolutely unequivocally off the charts. Lots of things going on in high school sports. Jared Peck from the Herald Leader coming up next. Alan Cutler, 1300 AM, 92.5 FM.
No Filter Radio with Alan Cutler, brought to you by Quantrell Auto Group. QuantrellForLife.com.
Hi, this is Alan Cutler. Have a no filter comment? Hit the text line, 859-381-1313. 859-381-1313. Lexington, it's time to feel the warmth and spread the love in a brand new Subaru from Quantrell Subaru. This is Alan Cutler, and you can feel good about working with the Quantrell family for your next Subaru, because not only do we get the best in sales, service, and no gimmicks, but for decades, the Quantrell family of dealerships has donated to over 50 local charities and events. So play as hard as you work, go where you've never been, and keep it local at Quantrell Subaru. QuantrellSubaru.com.
Houchins Insurance Group is proud to partner with Auto Owners Insurance, a company that provides opportunity for independent agents to make insurance simple for their clients, offering risk management services that range from a renter's policy for your college student to home and auto coverage for your entire family. Houchins Insurance Group assures you that nobody works harder to keep you protected from life's uncertainties. Reach out to AJ Boss or Zach Bennett at 859-263-2771 to see if Auto Owners Insurance makes sense for you.
Hey, I'm Dale Wise. I've just recently retired. I know that the electronics, if you don't keep up with it, it can get away from you and get real confusing. Republic Bank's app, I use their app, and it is so easy to use. I log in with my fingerprint, so it's super easy. I don't have to remember 50 million different passwords and all that stuff. And it lays it out just real nice.
That's Dale's story. Now let's get to work on yours. Republic Bank. Time to thrive. Member FDIC. Data rates may apply.
It's summertime, and that means it's time to hit the road.
Whether you're heading across town or across the state, going on a picnic, to a baseball game, or driving to the lake, stop by, fill up, and stock up at Clark's Pump and Shop, your road trip headquarters.
Clark's Pump and Shop has everything you need to get you to your summertime destination, including assorted Jolly Rancher or Twizzler peg bags, 2 for $5, and Jack Link's 2-ounce steak strip or extra large beef and cheese, 2 for $6.
Clark's Pump and Shop. Return, refresh, refuel.
Back to No Filter Radio with Alan Cutler. Podcasts on Apple, Spotify, and Google, Monday through Friday.
Welcome back. Alan Cutler, 1300 AM, 92.5 FM. Pleased and honored to have Jared Peck, the Lexington Herald Leader, join us. Jared, how the heck are you? What's going on?
I'm underwater right now. I got a bunch of preseason football stuff to do.
It's the time of the year where you're going. I was looking for the season, but I got 42 articles to write over the next 25 days or something like that, right?
Let's do 12 and 10. How about that?
Okay, that'll keep you busy. All right, so let's start with the shot clock. Explain to me why on earth every state in America, so I'm not just picking on Kentucky, okay? Explain to me why every state in the Kentucky doesn't have a shot clock for high school basketball, and please tell me why this is not happening and hasn't happened in a while. I'm really trying to understand. Give me their argument for not changing. Does it elongate the games? The coaches not want to use more strategy? The people just, they don't want to buy clocks. They don't want to spend the money. Why would anybody not want to have a shot clock in high school basketball?
Well, there are like 282 basketball playing schools in the state, I think. And, shot clocks are an expense. That's for sure. And not just an expense in putting them up or purchasing them and putting them up. They're an expense for running them. And maybe not, you don't charge somebody to do it, but it's going to be, you need a volunteer to run that shot clock and run it accurately. And, to me, I mean, it's just one more thing to argue about over at a high school sports game. I don't oppose having the shot clock in Kentucky. But I also see the arguments against it. It's going to be a hassle when it goes in, if it does. And we're talking about 30 states in the District of Columbia, or 31 states in the District of Columbia. So it's not everybody yet. And 150 schools don't want it. They said that in their annual survey. They don't want it until the National Federation, which is the NFHS, says it's a mandate, and then they'll go along with it, I guess. But if you're putting the question before them, they don't want it.
Is it money really? Because really, there are some small communities, maybe big too, where the expense of a clock can be prohibitive. And if that's the reason, I'm backing off really quick. But it's like anything else. Let me throw this analogy. A couple of years ago, when they put the pitch clock into the major leagues, and Jared, I'm purposely getting away from high school, and all these pitchers, oh, I don't like it. We're gonna have to adjust. And I immediately said, wow, 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 wow. Guys will whine, moan, and complain. By middle of the season, they're gonna shut up because they have to adjust to it. So, when you change this high school stuff, now if it's money, I will drop back. But we have to adjust to it. There'll be problems, this, that, and the other. You get used to it. That's just a change in life. Is it a laziness, the fear of the change? I mean, it adds more strategy. By the way, do you know the numbers? And I do not. Putting in a clock, what does that do to the length of a game?
Oh, I'm not sure what that would happen as far as game management goes. It would probably extend the game because there would be more stoppages for that, for sure. But I think there is some resistance on the part of high school coaches or whoever's filling out this form, rejecting it in the triennial survey for the KHAA. The KHAA surveys its members on that question, every so often, and each time it comes up, it gets rejected. But I think some of it is purists not wanting the game to change and not feeling like it's necessary for the game. There aren't many teams that I know of in the last several years that use time as a strategy. And you will see the last minute of a playoff game dribbled out a lot of times, but you don't generally see in a regular season game anybody running clock. They are calling a play, running the play. If the play succeeds or fails, and we run down to the other end. That's the case in most action. There was famously, I think, a 12th region game this year where an opponent in a girls' game just held the ball. And, the solution to that, everybody says, is come out and guard. If you come out and guard, there's a 5-second rule, and you can force them into action. But if you want to draw it down and play 2 possessions a quarter in an 8-minute quarter, you can do that. I mean, the quarters are only 8 minutes, only a 32-minute game. And our best teams are scoring 70 points a game in boys and 60 points a game in girls. So there's this thing. There's also an idea that maybe it's not needed really on a day-to-day basis. High school basketball in Kentucky doesn't need a shot clock for the thing to move the game to move on, because they're scoring 70 points a game in a 32-point game. 70 points a game is about the average in the college game at 40 minutes with a shot clock. So, I mean, what are you asking for here? What do we need this for? And it's just to appease people who don't like watching the last minute dribbled out, basically. I think.
Well, okay, and that's cool. When Lyon County won the state championship, they messed with the clock a little bit, which, by the way, was smart strategy. It's there. I mean, they didn't just not play basketball, but everybody knew what they were doing. And there would have to be more possessions. And by the way, I'm taking nothing away from them because guess what? It's a strategy. You can do it. It worked to them. They had plenty of ball handlers. I thought it was actually smart. In other words, if it's in there, I'm not saying anything negative. It was in there, and I bet they didn't do that much during the year because they didn't have to because they were so good. So now you might have a different strategy when you get to the playoffs, which to me is a little bit inconsistent, but that's me.
Well, in that game, if you remember, they didn't just hold the ball up top. They were moving the ball around and not attacking the basket.
Correct.
But they were being guarded, and Travis Perry had to run around like Curly Neal half the time. But they were being hounded. They were being hounded to get them to turn it over, and they ended up eventually just fouling and going to the line that way. And that's another way to stop the clock and stop that stuff.
That's true, and that's exactly what happened in that game. But you go to a gazillion high school games. I don't. And I'm just saying this didn't seem like how they played most of the games because they won so many games they didn't have to do it. And that's fine.
To me, I'm worried about the volunteer who's going to run the clock and how efficient that's going to be. And, high school games nowadays with the parents the way they are, arguing about the officials and yell at the officials all the time. Well, this is one more official to yell at. So to me, that's going to be a headache for Kentucky high school sports, is having one more person to yell at over the clock. And in football, you yell over the clock once every quarter or so. You don't yell over the clock every single possession, or 4 possessions. This could come up all the time with somebody who's. I was at a high school game last year where they had a high school girl running the clock, and she was doing a lousy job of it. And it wasn't even caught for 5 minutes. And then they had to stop it and figure it out. And it's like, we're talking about a JV player running the shot clock. I mean, is that what you want? That's the situation that's going to happen sometimes. I don't think it's going to happen at a big game, but a lot of games it's going to happen that way.
I hate to admit it, but I got a no filter myself. Jared Peck, Lexington Herald leader, you convinced me that's not a good idea. And I'm serious. You got to be honest about it. I did consider that somebody running the clock could be a problem, but the way you expounded on the fact, can I see some fights because of the way things are in high school sports, which you know all too well, that, hey, they didn't reset the clock, end of the game, that kind of stuff. Could I see there being a problem? I can. Okay.
Yeah, but if they accept the shot clock, if this goes forward, we have the shot clock. Certainly, that's not going to be in the world for anybody. We'll move on. They're used to it at the college game. We'll get used to it at the high school level. Again, I'm not arguing against the shot clock, but I understand the reasons why we're not doing it. I know what the reasons are why we're not doing it. I don't think anybody else sees those reasons or think those reasons are real, but conflict and incompetence is a very real problem.
I couldn't agree with you more. I want the clock, but God forbid there's a fight because of it. Okay, I'll back off. Tell me about 1, transfers, and 2. I'm almost crazy even saying this to you. Are there a bunch of kids making money playing high school basketball? I know there are some. I absolutely know there are some.
We've got kids leaving for prep school. Those kids are getting some sort of deal. All the kids that leave for prep school every year,
sure,
are getting something out of it. I don't think it's not a matter of what has happened in the last several years is the thing that the private schools were doing is now something that everybody's kind of doing. And it's like, I'm not going to accuse anybody of recruiting. It's nobody's business. And we talked about this before, where a kid goes to school. If you want Bobby to go play for the best team in town, it's really nobody's business for he's got to make the team. But if you want to play for that school because they're a good school, why can't you play for that school? And high school sports is the only place where we don't want people to go and free market it. They want people to stay at home and live with their own teams. And it's like, now we have independent school districts. Lots of schools have open borders and have open borders for athletes as well as students. There's a law, and if you're not an athlete, you can go to any school that has seats in the state. If you want to go to that school and you're not an athlete, you can go to another school if they have seats open. And so what has happened is, I'm not going to call anybody out here, but there are schools in this area and other areas that have open seats and can accept students from outside of their geographic area, and they come there. And some of those teams have been very, very good. And I'll just bring up, because everybody knows this, George Roger Clark won a state championship a few years ago with some players who are not native to Winchester, Kentucky. I don't want to call George Roger Clark out because that was a great team and a great game and had a great coach, and they did what they did. But they're not the only ones. We got football teams that are doing that, independent district football teams that are doing that. I could name any independent school district in the state and you'll go, oh, that makes sense. But I'm not going to name them.
Okay.
I just called out Clark County for no reason.
I'm good with that. And they understand what they did. Do you have a feel as to what percentage of high schools are actually recruiting? Like when I got here in the early 80s, okay, do I think this happened? I know it happened. There'd be times where a family would move to another town and the father would get a really good job, which enabled the family to move, and that had things change. And I knew there were some coaches who had the availability to improve the economic wherewithal of the family. And you know what I said to that? If your son or daughter helps the family move and puts more bread on the table and that's the reason why the dad or mom got a better job, I can't argue with that. You're helping the family. I mean, to me, it's no different than, if another newspaper comes to you and say, let's go to Seattle, do high school sports, if they're paying more money. I don't see that any different. There's a talent there, and with the talent, the family can be enhanced.
Yeah.
I don't find that as illegal as everybody else. This is America.
I
It's a
mean,
free system.
people make a lot out of recruiting. If you're a very good coach in whatever sport you are, people are going to want to play for you, and you don't really have to recruit. I mean, they'll figure out a way. You can't actively take part in getting them there, but if they approach you and say, "Hey, we'd like to come play for you," I mean, a coach has to say, "You need to talk to our principal or our admissions person before you talk to me." And that's the way it has to go. I mean, there can't be like an active recruiting situation. It can be, those things happen. And as long as the coach isn't recruiting or putting them up in apartments or doing whatever to get them there, I mean, that's all above board, and it happens every year, everywhere. And it's not exclusive to private schools, which I hear all the time. It's not exclusive to private schools at all. It's public schools have players from all over as well.
I think it's pretty simple. Those that aren't doing it would do it if they could. There are some schools they don't have the financial wherewithal or the right connections or those kinds of things. And I think coaches, and so do I, who complain about somebody else doing it, but they would do it if they could. I'm not ripping anybody. I think it's just the economics of our times, yes? But it's more prevalent now.
Yeah, if you don't make a big deal about why you're transferring as a high school player, there's almost, if you do the paperwork right and dot your I's and cross your T's and you actually move, or you do it before you turn into ninth grade, the rule that's coming up for the KHAA is they're going to give a free pass to freshmen and rising sophomores. So if you're a freshman, you can, and this rule passes next month, you would be able to get a free pass and not have to pass the waiver requirements, which is you'd have to sit out a year unless there was some special circumstance. So basically the waivers are for people who actually move. You can move from one school district to another, and you could get your eligibility back and don't have to sit out a year. So that's what's going on with the KHAA next month. I don't think it passes, but they're doing about 650 transfers a year for each of the last 3 years, and they improve 65% of them. The KHAA does. So 65% are getting passed, and then everybody who appeals, most of the people who are appealing are getting through as well. So it's really a circumstance where basically 500 a year are getting through clean, and then maybe 50 to 100 are kind of doing it the wrong way. So that's what's going on.
What's the biggest thing that'll change high school sports this year, if there is such a thing?
I don't think that the transfer rule passes. I think that what KHAA is doing right now is doing a performative exercise for the legislature, because the legislature is getting interested in this, because they have allowed free travel for non-athletes, and there are lawmakers who want the transfer rule to apply and be eligible for everybody. So what they're doing right now is they're going through this motion and saying, hey, we presented this to our leadership, and it didn't pass. I don't think it passes. And then the legislature will do whatever it does.
Jared Peck, real quick, top 3 football players off the top of your head in the state of Kentucky who will be battling out for Mr. Football, and we all know sometimes somebody comes out of the blue.
Well, I mean, we have, for Mr. Football, it's probably going to be Evan Hampton out of Owensboro, who's committed to Vanderbilt. It could be Cam O'Hara at Cooper, who was in the finals, I think, each of the last 2 years. He's a quarterback. He's committed to Western. Karsten Bush at St. Xavier, although he's a Louisville commit, and St. Xavier is going to have to win the 6A title for him to have a shot at it. The number 1 player in the state right now is Jarvis Strickland, who is an offensive lineman, 6'6", 294, out of Paducah Tillman. He flipped from Kentucky to Louisville just recently, not too long ago. But he's considered the best college prospect in the state. only one offensive lineman has ever won Mr. Football, and that was Jagger Burton with Frederick Douglass, and he had to share the award with Cam Hergott, a quarterback out of Beechwood that year from the AP, and then the AP stopped doing Mr. Football. So it is a long road for Jarvis Strickland to get Mr. Football, but those are some of the players I think are in the running.
Sounds good. By the way, you're not suggesting that they stopped doing it because Burton shared the award. It's just coincidence, correct?
There were many problems with the AP Mr. Football, and that wasn't the problem at that point, but it was indicative of the problem. Mr. Burton had a great year, and Douglas and they had a great year. But yeah, I mean, if he didn't pick Kentucky, he wouldn't have been Mr. Football. But he picked Kentucky famously during the season, and that skyrocketed his name recognition.
Which has been known like a kid commits to Kentucky in basketball, and all of a sudden, let's say if they were, we've seen this many times, nationally, doesn't have to be from the state, they're ranked number 122, and 2 weeks later, they're ranked not first or second or fifth, but they're ranked like, 95, 85, and it goes up. Real quick, I got 1 minute. When Hampton decommitted to Louisville and went to Vandy, that spoke volumes about how Vandy football changed. It's changing. Were you as surprised as I was? Because I was really, really, really surprised that a kid from Owensboro says no to Louisville after committing and going to Vandy.
Yeah, and Vandy's not a tough school even for an athlete to get into either. So, I mean, yeah, that says volumes about how far Vanderbilt has come as a football program. And it would be interesting to know his motivations behind that because Louisville is a nice commitment. But you also have to think about what kind of player is going to be at Louisville in the backfield for Louisville and what you're going to go up against there, and will Vanderbilt take better care of you? Evan Hampton coming out of Owensboro.
Well, Owensboro, I can see that. The other thing too is Vanderbilt apparently has a little more NIL money than a lot of people think. Tell everybody how to reach you. You got all these articles coming up, all the good stuff you're doing. Then we're going to say goodbye.
Yeah, I'm on Kentucky.com, and that's where all of our class top 10s will be coming out next week. I'm also on HL Preps on X.com, where I do highlights every Friday night.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you. Enjoy the season and banging out all the stories. I'm looking forward to it.
Thanks, Alan.
Jared Peck. Jimmy, I can't stand that he changed my mind. And he heard that before I hung up. He did. And I did consider that, honestly. But the way he put it, it really had me visualize some horrible, not a ton, but a couple really bad. It's a bad way for doing it. I get it in today's society, but you had somebody not qualified to run the clock. Now, first of all, you should have somebody qualified. And I guess if they say it's a national rule, they'll make sure somebody qualifiable doing it. But until it's a national rule, I could see some fights and stuff happening, people screwing up the clock and home or away. I can see some nasty things happening. I can't stand that I've changed my opinion, but he makes a very good point the way he put it that way.
Yeah, it's a good point that he made, and that's why he's the perfect one to ask because, like he said, he's at high school basketball games almost every night during basketball season. He's seen hundreds, probably thousands of basketball, and I think he's got a pretty good point that that you don't think about unless you're watching the games all the time.
Well, I did think about it, but I respect his opinion, and you're right. He's at Thames all the time, and it made me think about da. Anyway, Jimmy, thank you as always. Jared Peck, thank you. Alan Stein, wonderful conversation. Appreciate you joining us. Podcast will be up in a couple of minutes. And if you're on YouTube, the address, Jimmy, is
ESPN Sports Radio 1300 AM.
Let's see if we can get 100 people subscribing by the end of the year. I think that's possible. We need to push it more. Have yourself a great day. Brad Taylor coming up next. Matthew and Jimmy at 10. I'll be back at noon. Have a great